Hi, this is Ruth Elisabeth Hancock, host of Work Your Energy podcast. And this week, I am really excited to announce Cate Montana, who is the author of the brand new book, Cracking the Matrix, which is an incredible book. And I am so excited to ask her some questions today. We've just been having a little brief discussion, and I felt like we needed to press record and get this information down so that everyone can start to think more about this reality that we're living in and how to move forward, how to ascend, if you like, as a human species. So, hi, Cate. Thank you so much for joining me. And you are joining me from where?
I'm on Maui in Hawaii.
Okay, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What's it
Hot
like
spot.
there? Okay, yeah. What's it like there? Is everything okay? Is everyone safe?
Everyone is safe now. The death toll has been grotesquely skewed downward. The legacy media is talking about 110 dead. Well, it's close. The children that are missing, there are over 2,000 children still missing.
Wow.
Hello.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's being put out to the mainstream is not accurate in the slightest. It's tremendously skewed, and the island is in trauma. Families are in trauma. It's going to be, it will be dealing with PTSD for years.
Oh my God.
And the question marks are huge about, well, was it deliberate? And I think, yes, it was at this point in my research. What's the future of Maui, which actually is really exciting, I think, Elisabeth, because I've realized that Maui is, it's such a heart center on the planet. There are so many millions of people who have had the opportunity to fall in love with her and walk her shores and swim in her waters and feel the love that is that heartbeat of Polynesia. And it's about unification. The original Hawaiian people they accepted as Hawaiian anybody of the Aina whose heart and spirit was of the land. Whether they were black, yellow, red, white skin, it didn't matter. And so the original Hawaiian teaching was very inclusive and unifying. And so I've realized that actually I just kind of woke up to this last week, and I'm doing a podcast on it with my own podcast that I'm starting, Cracking the Matrix, about this opportunity Maui presents to bring people together of all races in our hearts and hold up a higher standard for where Maui is going to be in the future, how it's developed, that it's developed with heart, with traditions, with unification, with grace, with compassion in mind, and not be a globalist playground and developed for commercial purposes and made into a 15-minute smart island. So it's a great opportunity. It's easy to just kind of like dwell in the ashes and go, oh my God, but it's like, oh my God, what an opportunity we have here to come together. So that's kind of the state of Maui at the moment.
But that's really positive. I love that. That's really beautiful. And I think, it is what we make it. It is what you make it. And if you say, as long as you don't let, those globalists come in and do whatever they want to do, and you keep it on track with what you need to do as residents, I think, yeah, you can create something really positive from this.
Yeah. Well, and as we were talking earlier before we started recording, it's very much but people have to also know what they're actually dealing with.
Yes.
So that they can come together and stand not against something, but for something else.
Yes. And with that, let's move on to the first question, because I loved your book. I really, really loved it. And we were talking before about how we both feel that this type of information is so unwanted by the rest of the world, PR companies and whatever, but it's so needed. And I think we're both on the same lines here, because I know, you're looking at it from that people need to know this because they need to know how to deal with it. And in your book, you give very, very detailed solutions and explanations of how to deal with it. And from my own standing, I feel that we need to have this knowledge because we need to know who we really are so that we can know where we're going. And I think without having this true knowledge of our world, we're just going to carry on being lost little children, and we need to have this information, this knowledge. So we in terms terms of your book, you're very much talking about the dark forces, the dark agendas, the AI agendas, the transhumanism, all of this, and looking at how we essentially have been duped and brainwashed in this reality that we're living in. Of course, it's this 3D matrix that we're living in. And one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, can you stand in your power whilst but being unaware of this multidimensional field matrix that we exist in? Is it possible to actually ascend and and to be this empowered human being when we have, without having that understanding of what is really going on in our world?
That's the question that I've been chewing on for 2 years. My knee-jerk reaction is I don't think it's possible to be able to fully be in your power if you're being simultaneously manipulated by forces that you're completely unaware of, and therefore following that agenda that isn't your own, that you yet believe is your own, which it's such a twisty thing. I've spent 40 years in the whole New Age spirituality arena, meditating my derriere off, and written books about enlightenment and consciousness and the nature of the ego, the nature of enlightenment, and it's all been from personal experience. So I'm glad I spent 25,000 hours meditating. And it opened up so many vistas and expansiveness for me. And at the same time, everything about what I was trained to do was to get out of my body and to seek a higher, you use the word ascend, a higher ascended self that isn't this, that's out of my body and out there somewhere. And that's where bliss and union lie. And I've come to recognize that that's part of the twisted message, a part of the dark agenda that's infiltrated religion and the spirituality message, is that it's not out there. There's nothing out there. It's all in here. So 40 years trying to get up and out, and I've finally come to realize, oh, shoot, it's down and in. This is where my power lies. Jesus said it very clearly. The kingdom of heaven lies within, not out there. And so researching this agenda, and what I've come to recognize is an interdimensional anti-life intelligence that is from a completely different source than planet Earth. It does not belong here. It's been here for, I have no idea how long, thousands of years, spinning its web, creating a matrix, a mental matrix of lies and an alternate reality that we've finally been completely inculcated into and believe is what's really going on. I believe my government is out to protect me and do the best for me. I believe that experimental drugs are great to inject into my body, and that pharmaceutical companies should make billions off of it. I think it's all for my best interests, and I need to work hard and keep be competitive and be in conflict with the other people. This is what we've been trained to believe. So if I'm immersed in this, I call it a matrix. I love the Matrix movie. If we're immersed in this alternate reality that is not real, how can I be in my power if I'm in an alternate reality and I don't even know it? All for thousands of years, the Vedas, all of the ancient scriptures always talk about we have to move past Maya. We have to move past illusion. Well, in the spiritual arena, I thought, yes, I have to crack the illusion of the self. Okay. I have to get beyond my horrible ego. I have to transcend that. I have to kill that. And I have to get out there to a better place and a wiser, higher self with a capital S. And it's a rabbit hole because I'm already pure love. You're already a being of pure love. I cannot become what I already am. So I'm being led continuously away from my body, my true self. I can never allowed to relax into who I am in this matrix. And therefore I remain powerless because I'm always searching for something outside of myself that's better than me. And the big lie, and I call it the lie in my book, Cracking the Matrix. The lie we've been sold and totally bought is that we are nasty, crappy lowlifes, that we're corrupt because of the body, that we're tempted and corrupt because of physicality, that we're dual, that we're separate, that we are violent, that we are greedy, that we are filled with conflict, and you just can't trust yourself. And we bought it hook, line, and sinker. And you're looking at our world today, all we have to do is look around and go, yeah, we've been living down to our own ideal. We've been living down to a totally erroneous picture of ourselves. We've been following a lie that we are not already beings of pure love. So how to finally get back to your original question, how can I stand up in my power, believing that I am somehow corrupt, that I should be filled with shame, that I should be trying to be something other than what I am, endlessly chasing this image that's been given to me. I don't see how I can truly be in my power. The illusion, this illusion that I always wanted to break through, of the corrupt self and get past the dualistic mind and become this great avatar. It was like, and then I thought I was going to vault myself into a reality of bliss and sweetness and light. That was the reality. That was, all right, I'm going to break through the matrix and I'm going to get to the real world of bliss and light. And it's like, oh, holy Moses, turning around and finally really investigating the other side of life, the dark side, if you will, and coming to realize the reality of it and its influence and what ignoring it has brought us to, vaulted me into a completely different reality. I do not live in the same reality I lived in 2 years ago at all. It sure as hell isn't the reality that I thought I was going to get vaulted into when I cracked the illusion. So I think the first step is getting out of the bloody matrix, getting out of the illusion of the storyland that we're in and going, oh, holy Moses, this is what I'm dealing with. Oh, wow, I didn't see it before. Oh, wow. Okay, but there's a way out. Oh my God, yes, and I'm whole and I'm me and I'm pure love, and oh, now I'm in my power. Now I'm grounded and I can step forward, not against something, because that world actually is an illusion. Even though it's very real, it's an illusion. Back to the land of spiritual paradox. But so yeah, so that's my very long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah, it's understanding that we are all of it. We are love, we are God, we are source, we are all of these things. However, and maybe even this entire physicality is just a holographic reality, which is looking very much like it is. I mean, science seems to be very much along those lines. I remember when I first started my spiritual journey, and it was very much connecting to spirit guides, and I learned how to channel. And then the more I evolved, the more I understood that I am the spirit guide. There is nothing outside of us. We are it. We are love. We are God. We are source. We are all of these things. And it helps one to see life in a very different way. But yeah, coming back to this, I wanted to sort of talk a little bit more about this anti-life force, because I think this is the type of information which I know is so scary to people. I mean, it's just so scary to people that nobody wants to deal with it. But I feel very called to sort of the same as you, that I need to sort of say to people, this is very important, because we need to wake up to this, because it's actually, once we've woken up to it, it has no hold over us anymore. It cannot do anything to us. It is purely a mind virus, as you say in your book. And so being scared is bringing our vibration down and allowing more crap, into our space, our field, if you like. standing up to it and saying, no, I'm not accepting this as my truth. I'm not accepting this as my reality. That is, in fact, all we have to do. And we have to see what is going on around us. So this very unsavory truth that our governments are corrupt, that there are certain world leaders, very, very prominent families who are keeping us in this controlled narrative for reasons of their own. I think many, many people have a real problem with understanding that this is planned, that this is a planned reality. And I think everyone can understand that governments are corrupt. Everyone can understand, maybe even they can understand that the viruses were, man-made, created. Maybe they can even understand that vaccines, were created for money. But the idea that vaccines were created for depopulation, or the idea that there is a planned agenda out there in any form or other, and the idea that it's the World Economic Forum behind this, these are truths that very, very, very few people can accept as truth and reality. So the next question is, why do you feel that more people aren't aware of this anti-life force?
Well, to start off, I'm going to kind of back up with some of what you just said. And I think one of the reasons it's so invisible and that people struggle to accept the C word, conspiracy, and that it's possible that something like a depopulation agenda, control agenda, is possible because of our basic decency.
Yeah, because we are love.
We are love.
We are evil.
Vast majority of people simply want to live sweet lives, find a mate, raise their kids to be happy, contribute to their community, express themselves creatively in some productive way, and live their lives. That's the 99%.
Yeah.
That's the 99%. So the fact, 3 years into this now, Elisabeth, I struggle sometimes. It's just like I see one more thing, the Lahaina fire, and I go, oh God, no, this couldn't possibly, shoot. So I struggle with it. It was the whole COVID mess that woke me up. I literally 3 years ago just sat and looked at a world gone mad with fear and the lockdowns and the mandates and the agendas. And I was like, oh my God, what is really going on? And so that's when I turned around and I looked and I started to investigate the nature of evil on this planet. And much to my surprise, I realized as I researched that every culture on every continent, back thousands of years, every civilization has identified this presence, this interdimensional mind parasitic presence. They call it Satan, Beelzebub, Shaitan, Iblis. The Hawaiians call it Epa. Science fiction writers call it the mind parasites. Carl Jung called it the antimimos, basically the Antichrist. Native American, some tribes call it Wendigo. The Iroquois Nation, I believe, calls it Wetiko. It's just like, and it's known to be an infiltrator that drags down a human being's consciousness and takes them to their lowest common denominator, takes them into emotional states, debauched states, anything that can be conflict and divisive. It's what sets us at each other's throats. This has been known for thousands of years. So then my question was, well, I go, oh my God, look at that. How could we have missed this? And so then the book, I had to, well, how did we miss it? And number one, I think we're dealing with the decency. We are decent people, so it's really hard to even credit the dark. And it's bloody scary. So who wants to look at that? No. Yeah. Religion has been twisted such that it has made Satan this ludicrous red being with horns and a forked tail that, with a pitchfork. And so I'm given the picture of this in a ludicrous form, that, if I buy that there was a snake in a garden that handed a woman, the only woman, an apple, and that's why women now, bear forth children in pain, and we have to slave, and if I believe that story, and then I look at Satan, and it's equally ludicrous, so I dismiss it. That's a bunch of bull. Fairy tales, something fodder for scary movies. Next. So I don't see it. I don't give it any credibility. The spirituality arena has been equally infiltrated, and it's been, go to the light. Don't look there. Look at the light. No, you don't want to look at darkness and fear. It's called spiritual bypassing on any number of different levels. And so we don't. And then, of course, the whole spirituality message is to get out of your body. And so we have no strength in that. And then we have been convinced that mind over matter. I can focus my mind and create a whole different reality. Well, okay, how's that working out for us? And I worked with a movie with the filmmakers of What the Bleep Do We Know. I'm partially responsible for marketing that idea to the entire planet, which seemed like a good idea at the time, but it was so missing embodiment. It was completely missing heart. It was completely missing the rest of the story. And so now we're in this, mind daze. We're in a matrix. We're in a false reality anyway, that is a mind trap. And now we're being convinced that if I just, create my own reality in my mind, now we're in assimilation. We're still not empowered and in our bodies and grounded and whole. So that's how, and I do get into some of the ancient genetic manipulation of the human race that seems kind of obvious. And I get into some pretty decent detail in the book about how we have been genetically altered to be docile and accepting leadership and to look to external authority. God is the ultimate external authority, but that trickles down into, well, I'm just going to wait for Senator Hoo-ha to save me, or President La-di-da. And so that's that.
So it's very much, the message really is empowerment and empowering people to stand up and take responsibility of, I suppose, of this reality, of their reality, and not just their lives. I mean, I know that we are conscious, we're a network of conscious observers, and therefore we're creating this reality together. I understand that. However, we have an individual aspect of that as well.
Yeah.
And we are individually responsible for creating our own reality. But one of the things that I understood from researching my first book is that the first rule of everything is taking responsibility. So, as you say, standing in your power, taking back your power, being sovereign, whatever it may be, that is the number one rule of anything. And then the next one is understanding yourself, having a true, having a strong self-identity, these sorts of things. And then I would say the next one is having all the information, understanding what's really going on around you, escaping that matrix, that brainwashing. But these things, it's, as you say, that groundedness. And of course, the new age spirituality, yes, it's been taking everyone out of their body and teaching them many, many different things, but it's the groundedness. And I don't know if you believe this as well, but I sort of felt like the religious teachings, the Bible, if you like, even Jesus' teachings, was sort of like the self-help book of its day. It's actually teaching us what we are truly capable of, who we really are, and how we navigate and work this 3D reality in order to in order to sort of to live in to harness, sort of to live our best life, you could say, but that's a bit of a cliche, but it's sort of to be able, to thrive in this reality. And I feel that that's what has been taken away from us, is that knowledge, with the as you say, the religious texts and the books and everything being just completely and utterly edited to such a degree that no one even understands them anymore.
Right.
But there's information in there, and I always felt that it would have to have been an important book. Otherwise, the Romans would have just destroyed it completely. The fact that they couldn't destroy it means that it was already out there in the world. They were taking very historical teachings and they changed it and edited it to something that they could then control, hence the Church of Rome. But within that, there were always those teachings of how to use the human body to work this physical reality to our best ability.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you say in your book, we're spiritual beings having this physical experience, but it was never supposed to be like this. It was never supposed to be this type of physical experience. We've been pulled down to such a lower consciousness, such a low level, that this is nothing like what we were supposed to be experiencing. Yes, and I know people talk about how this is university, but I don't believe any of this was supposed to be our life lessons or our experiences or anything like that. And I understand that the dark and the light need to be together, but evil is something completely different. And as you rightly say, this is mind parasite. This is different. This is not us.
It's not us. It's a completely different species, if you will. And one of the things that finally made sense, I'm a great fan of a woman by the name of Jacqueline Hobbs, aka Oracle Girl, oraclegirl.org. I was listening to something she was saying, and in the middle of whatever she was talking about, she said, and this interdimensional force, these interdimensional forces are from a different source. And then she went on, and I was like, what? Because like you and everybody else, at least in the West, we've been raised with this monotheistic idea of there's one source, one God, one love. It's all love, the universal love source, the universal consciousness love source, whatever you want to call it. There's just one, and everything comes from that, which leads us down the gnarly path that nobody has been able to satisfactorily explain ever. Is, well, if God is love, then why was evil created? Well, then we have to go into storyland to pretend to figure this out and make sense of something that doesn't make sense. Oh, well, Earth is a school and we're supposed to learn this thing about the dark side, and then when I transcended that, and then it's like, and yes, ritual rape of children is fine, I guess. It's bad, but it's really love because it's a lesson I'm supposed to learn. And I don't mean to trivialize people's. I mean, I was so in that bath of it's all love, and I had to ignore evil, and I was not confronted. I now have people that I know who have survived satanic ritual abuse. I have friends who were trained to be assassins, who were so fragmented through torture and rape and abomination and cannibalism as little children, to be completely fragmented and then become tools of whatever elitist agenda. You say tool of the devil, but that's really what it is. And so we keep trivializing and trying to explain in logical terms that Earth is a school and that's why evil exists. Okay. And we keep trying to swallow what's unswallowable.
Yeah.
Because
and also unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I've never believed that. And I don't care how many times people say it to me. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it's completely unbelievable. And
so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but I was going to say the other thing, is the concept of soul contracts. We come here, we sign up to learn things like, as you say, ritual, satanic, whatever, and again, it's totally unbelievable. And I mean,
totally believable. That's the problem. It's totally believable because in our decency and in our love, compassion sense, we're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. And so we believe this. Because when I put it in the school context, or I put it in the soul contract context, then I can swallow it.
Yeah,
But when I know it's still, well, but yeah, I was right there. I believed it.
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
I
yeah.
never turned around and I never confronted what was really going on. I still have psychologist friends who would, at a cocktail party casually, or a dinner party casually, talk, oh, well, I've got another satanic abuse victim in my chair, that I'm dealing with. Well, what do I do with that? There was no overarching context for me to put that and make that useful information. And, and another psychologist friend saying, it's unbelievable, the statistics of satanic abuse in this country. Well, what do I do with that? Again, there's no context and no reason for me to do anything with that. It's just like, well, whatever. And so, but confronted with the reality of it, which is, again, back to how do we empower ourselves and how do we come out of the matrix, and how do we have to actually turn and look at what is really going on and see it without blinders on and without obfuscation and childish stories to try to make sense of what doesn't make sense, and just go, wow. So when I heard Jacqueline say that these entities, this intelligence, this interdimensional anti-life force comes from a different source altogether, boy, talk about an expansive thought.
I think it comes from a parallel universe, actually, because I think different universes are structured in different ways.
Sure.
And this is something which, this is something which Corey Good, he talks about this, and David Wilcox talks about this as well. They both mentioned this, and I actually think that sounds more believable to me. That sounds more believable than any of the other New Age spiritual,
it doesn't belong here. It's oil and water.
It doesn't belong here, no. And you've got films like on Netflix, children's films where they talk about good versus evil. And I immediately, first of all, said to my children, there is no evil. Good versus bad, maybe, because we are a mixture of good and bad, but there is no evil. So you can see, the brainwashing, Netflix with the brainwashing, trying to make evil to normalize evil. And to say that evil is okay, and that, that we are allowed to be evil and that it is part of us. It's not. It's not part of us. It's part of the brainwashing and the mind control, but it's not part of us.
No, and that is the essential core thing that people have to get to yes. find their own power. Because when I finally turned around and looked at this presence and dissected it to this level, and then I realized, oh my God, that is not me. I stepped out of the lie that I was a shameful, evil, corrupt being. We have how many thousand generations of epigenetic trauma, of built-in shame, especially in the Western culture, of thinking that we're corrupt, evil beings. And so this is, again, the thing that keeps us locked into not looking in the closet, because, oh my God, what am I going to find there? I'm going to find that I cannot bear to look. So we don't look, thinking it's real. It's not me. When I got that, and I realized that this force can't pick up a tissue. It doesn't have the power to pick up a bloody tissue. It's got to work through us by selling us the lie that we're it, so that we, as powerful creators of love and life, can put it into motion and hand ourselves and our planet and our reality over to it.
Yep.
And we end up with the shit show that we've got going on now, wondering how did we get here. And I look at all of the, good Lord, how many millions of self-help books are sold every year? How many millions of people meditate? How many millions upon millions of people turn to God and say, please, this is not right, help. If we were so corrupt at heart, would we be doing any of that? No. The goodness on this planet is staggering, and it really is the 99%.
Yes, and let's just mention that, because of course 99% are watching 1% of the media, the mainstream media, and it's the mainstream media who are putting out in all of their films, their newspapers, their documentaries, everything is
Video
supporting,
games.
yeah, it's supporting what they want us to believe, which is a reality, an unsavory reality based on an evil world, based on people killing each other everywhere, based on terrorism. All of this has been created by this 1% mainstream media in
Yep.
order to make us believe that all of this is true.
Yep.
That we are living in this terrible, awful world. But if you move yourself away and off these platforms, and you
Yes.
actually go out into the world and talk to real people, you soon wake up. You soon realize that none of that is true.
That's
That is
true.
just the film industry, the
Yep.
newspaper industry, the documentary, docuseries industry, whatever.
Six corporations.
Yes.
Six
Corporations want us to stay
corporations
in that
globally
fearful
own
place.
90% of all of the media. And those six corporations are in turn owned by three investment overlords, if you will: BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. It's
Yeah.
three mega asset firms control all of this. They control the media and they control the pharmaceutical industries. Same thing. And
Yeah.
I mean, something like 70% of the news advertising in the United States is funded by pharmaceutical companies. The news, 70% of news advertising is funded by pharmaceuticals. So it's like the self-interest, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's a huge smoke and mirrors dance.
And when you talked about that you woke up during the sea thing, and
Yes,
obviously I can't use that word, yes, and it's exactly the same for me. And I think the thing that got me when I saw the UK government running paid ads for people to do the V thing.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, it was totally and utterly unbelievable. And that just, I don't know, something just snapped inside me. And I just thought, oh my God, they want us to have this too badly, too badly. And of course, that, that Shakespeare phrase popped into my head: thou doth protest too much. When people want something that much, there's something behind it. Yeah. And, and then of course going down that rabbit hole, oh my God.
Well, yeah, and and I knew in November of 2020, when I read some of the CDC material that put the average mortality estimate at 98.5% survivability for the sea. And if you were 70 and under, if you were under 70, your survivability was 99.8%. So all this was happening for a 0.02% possibility that I might not survive.
I know.
So anyway, yeah.
So that puts it into perspective. And of course, that immediately wakes everyone up, because they think, well, this doesn't make any sense. And then everyone's running paid ads, and then you've got incentives. And in the country where I was, we were given free pizza and free taxi rides,
Free lottery to win $1 million. Yeah. Free ice cream for the cheese. Yeah. And the very fact that we're sitting here doing euphemisms, talking about the C and the V, and we cannot speak the words for fear of being deplatformed and taken off the air. And hello?
Well, yes, one of my YouTube videos has already been deleted, so I think it's 3 strikes and you're out. So yeah, I know it's ridiculous, isn't it? But again, this is another thing, thou doth protest too much. It's too much. It's too much. What have they, what have they ever done this for any other V things that we've had? Influenza, tetanus, polio. Has anything like this been put towards any of those? No. Did they run paid ads and things for that? No. So it's just insane.
It is. So yeah, I'd like to move on and say there's hope.
Yeah. Okay, so let me move on. And okay, so the the next question, and I think probably we've already sort of talked about this, but how has human perception been tricked into believing such a false reality? And I think, you know, you've really talked about this, that we are decent beings, we are decent humans, and we cannot connect or empathize with anything like that, with anything in that evil.
No, no. I think we've really kind of covered it. You know, it used to be just mostly the religious influence. And the moment television and radio came in, the airwaves, it's so interesting. All of this electromagnetic frequencies, you know, one of the things that I haven't talked about, and I talk about it in the book, is that the, and I'll call them the archons. The Greeks called these beings the archons.
Yeah.
Evil interdimensional influences that would drag down and try to basically possess human beings, take them over, so that they could operate through them and have a physical experience. So the archons actually have a interdimensional frequency technology that they've been using. This is what I've come to understand, that we're being saturated in a low frequency message all the time of you're a piece of poo, basically, and you should just grovel and be the violent, disgusting creature that you are. That's the message. And then now we've got smartphones, we've got microwaves, we've got, you know, dog fences pulsing God knows what, you know, electromagnetic frequencies at us. We're being bombarded with this, the power of imagery. I don't think we have got a freaking clue how powerful television is and visual media. So the average, get this, the average American, let me see, Americans watch a cumulative 250 billion hours of television a year.
Oh my gosh.
250 billion hours. By the time you're 65, you've received over 2 million, you have absorbed 2 million advertisements. By the time a kid is 18 on this planet, they have seen over 40,000 rapes and murders right in front of their eyes. So this is the message we're being bombarded with, and we're so, you know, oh, have you seen the latest Transformer movie? It's so cool. We don't know what it's doing to us. So that's the short, really pungent answer to that question of how are we being manipulated? How are we not being manipulated?
I mean, it really puts us into the, you know, the film industry, you know, the TV industry. They have so much power. And because of that, they have a lot of responsibility. And this is, it's being, I think, completely abused in terms of what we are being shown and what children are being shown, and what is supposed to be PG-13 or PG-15 is just not. And you know, and where, you know, parents are putting the you know, they're letting their children sit in front of these films and watch these things, and because they don't understand how the mind works and how,
right,
you know, the brain waves work. So, you know, we get the nice lulling music coming on, we get the theta brain waves, and we are totally suggestible at that point.
yeah,
And everything that we are seeing, our mind believes is happening, and it is a reality for our mind. And our mind goes to bed that night believing that we have lived in that reality that, as you say, covers all of that horror and violence and aggression.
yep.
And people do not understand this because they haven't been taught this.
That's right. And they're not going to be taught this, not by the mainstream.
No.
I mean, you know, just the other day, I was just like, I was raised in the 50s with cartoons. This was the first, you know, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Popeye and all that. And I'm like, wow, I have, you know, ducks and people beating coyotes over the head with hammers and throwing things off cliffs and smashing this and, you know, beating up that. And I'm like, who thought that up for little children?
I know, it's terrible, isn't it?
And then I was just like, oh my God. And you know, I just was like, I'll watch Popeye and Mickey Mouse and all the violence, and nobody thought anything of it. It was just like, oh my God. But really, the thing to do is to see it, and then, the power lies in turning around and actually seeing that this is going on and going, okay, truly, I cannot express the level of freedom I have felt since that I'm embodying, and the amount of power that I feel in my being as a total being grounded in my truth that I am a being of pure love. And that I live on a planet with other beings of pure love, and we have been hoodwinked, and I'm not going to be hoodwinked anymore. So at that point, it becomes, so much of the agenda is let's turn around and fight the dark, the white hats, the black hats, good versus evil.
We don't need to do
Why
that.
would I turn around and fight something that doesn't have the strength to pick up a piece of tissue? Hello?
Yeah.
Walk
We just,
away.
yeah, we just
Walk
turn our
away.
attention to something else. Yeah. So we
Create
stop
something
watching those,
new.
yeah, we stop watching those films. We stop sending our children to a school where the education is completely brainwashing, mind control, and just leading them towards a life of taxes, paying taxes, and financial entrapment, if you like. We say no to our governments.
Yes.
We stop paying taxes. We stop voting. We have so much power.
We go to our neighbors and say, let's create a neighborhood garden so we can eat nice, natural, organic food, and we're not subject to CRISPR technology in our vegetables.
Yes, pesticides and graphene.
Pesticides and graphene oxide and whatever else is being put in the food. It's just like, let's create hours banks where people can barter time to help one another, and that doesn't take us into the monetary system anymore. There are so many our creativity is so vast.
Yes,
Our
and
capacity for love and creation is so incredible. This force has no imagination. It is a binary. That's why it's aligned with AI. It is a binary ones and zeros, kind of an automaton intelligence. That's it. It has no life force to it. It has no grace to it. It has no love to it. It doesn't understand it. And you can't fix it because it doesn't come from here.
yeah.
You cannot, the whole new age, oh, well, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to love the beast. No, just walk away. Don't feed it. It feeds on energy. This force feeds on our emotions. And when I feed it love, it just goes, oh, no, 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 thank you very much. Give me more. So, and this is not easy. Man, this is easier said than done, because I want to mix it up sometimes. I just want to get in there and just, punch something. And it's just like, oh, ground. Okay, hi. I'm a creative being. I'm going to create something that we've all been yearning to experience. Who we really are, in alignment, mutual support, love, grace, beauty, creativity, mutual support. It's like, that's what I want. And that's why I wrote the book, and that's why I'm talking with you. Is like, yeah, it's time to create what we've always known we're equal to.
So we're creating a better world, a more positive world.
Yeah.
So if people are struggling with negative entities, which of course is the AI, the Archon,
Yeah.
it's not them. They perceive these negative entities outside of them. They perceive the depression or the suicidal thoughts or whatever inside of them. How do people get beyond that? What's the first step for them? I know it's a huge question. If it was me, I would say the first thing is to step outside of it, know it's not you, and observe it. And I do actually send them love. And I've noticed that when I send them love, they literally go running. They're off. They're completely off. They don't like
whatever works. But you're right, absolutely. The first thing is to stop and center yourself in your body. The body doesn't lie. The mind lies all the time. It's tricked constantly. The body is never tricked. Yeah. And so, and I say throughout the whole book, start grounding in the body and feel into what your heart is telling you. Because I'm not going to try to separate out heart, soul, and spirit. It's like, Let's just
Yeah,
get into that love frequency of unity and that sweet space inside and go, okay, even though it's giving me a message that doesn't seem to make any sense, learn to follow that. And I cannot downplay the role of sincerity. That once we step into the place of, oh, I've been tricked. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I'm not that. I am love. I am love. The moment we really engage this, not from an airy fairy, being taught from outside, I read some book, some spiritual guru told me my mantra, none of that. Inside, that deep, deep, sincere, I want to be who I really am, and I am already who I really am. So, and ground in that sincerity, then the pathway will open up. Whoever it takes you to, whether it takes you to a psychologist to help with depression or with voices in your head or whatever, great. If it takes you to a shaman and that's where your heart leads you, not your mind, your heart, great. If it leads you to a book, great. Yeah, I don't, that's the only way out of the jungle that I know, Elisabeth, is really get sincere in this heart space and you start feeling the tugs. Well, you talk about intuition all the time. That's one of your learning to hear the voice of your own intuition, your own voice. That is absolutely critical.
Yeah, and I feel before you can do that, you have to know who you are and who you're not.
Yep. You have to know you're not that. You have to step
Yes.
out of the lie.
Yes. So those critical thoughts, those negative thoughts, those nasty thoughts, those mean thoughts, whatever, you know, those words that come into your head, they're not you.
Nope.
They're not you. You can just tell them, you know, to bugger off. You can send them love and light. You know, you can, you know,
Or not.
whatever. Yeah. Or, you know, yeah, exactly. Whatever. But they're not you.
Yeah.
And just being able to, and I love what you say in your book about this, that just doing that, it takes the power away from the mind virus and back into you. And just doing that disintegrates them.
Yeah.
Because as you rightly say, they have no power, they have no body, they
That's
have
right.
no nothing. You know, and that is why, of course, we cannot move into AI at this moment in time, because we are not heart-led enough as a species. And we are still in the mind, and the mind can be hijacked. And of course, the mind has been hijacked, which is what the mind parasite has done. It has hijacked. The more, I think, egoist the person is, the stronger the hijacking is, and the more successful the person is. You know, the more the mind parasites want to come in and hijack that person. And of course, they've infiltrated everything: the world of spirituality, religion, everything.
Education, medicine, you name it.
Yeah, it's been all of it's been infiltrated by the mind parasites, the mind virus. So that understanding that they truly have no power. They are trying to, if you like, take over us as a species so that they can live through us. But we just, all we have to do is just cut that tie, cut that string, and
cut that identification. Cut the identification with it.
Yes, and realize, you know, just push it out there. It's not part of us.
Not even push it. Not even push it, because then I'm giving it energy. There's that I ground in who I really am. I ground in the love of my being, and that takes care of it.
Yeah.
If
So
we really ground in that energetic space, that automatically takes care of it. That cannot penetrate.
Yeah. What I find helps as well is pushing love out of me. So understanding that I am love, standing in love myself, and then pushing love out of me. And I find that just pushes everything out, you know, and everything is gone. But
Beautiful.
the idea, you know, of I see AI popping up everywhere. It's coming up on everything, you know, even on Gaia TV, they had even on there, you know, some prominent speakers of whom I admired were even talking about AI is now a done deal It's now part of our world. How do we navigate this? And I don't think that I don't think we should be accepting it as a done deal or part of our world just yet. Even Elon Musk has said that we need to put a halt on this. He has reached out to other corporations and said we need to put a halt on this just for 6 months so we can get our bearing.
Yeah.
Because when something moves this fast, again, it's moving too fast. It's like impulse buying. You always regret it the next day. We can't move this fast on something so huge.
Yeah. No, and again, it's like, what world are we trying to salvage? I again, it's like I'm so in a place of focusing on what is already been birthed within all of us. And, maybe down the road, AI has a role in that because we're coming from pure love. Who knows? But I'm not even going to try to address it and mix it up with that. And it's so hard to take my attention off of the headlines, and I see a lot of gnarly information come across my desk because I've been researching all of this stuff, and it's got its own hypnotic appeal. It's like, oh wow, what's screwed up next? Ooh, that's bad. It's like, stop, Kate. In my body, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to reach out to my neighbors about gardening, and I'm going to build this, and I'm going to create that. It's like it's a turning away.
Okay, so you're just not putting any attention on it at all. You're creating.
It's a fine line for me because it's my journalistic path to know what's going on sufficiently so I can write about it and talk about it, but not get caught in it. And so, that's what the whole spiritual, the knife edge, walk. It's very much a knife edge walk. But I'm so happy to report that there is freedom. And I mean, all we have to do is declare ourselves free. Are they going to show up at my gate? And, if we think consciousness creates reality, if I am seriously involved in creating and supporting and community and not creating a love bubble world where, all I have to do is sit on my Zen pillow and just focus it on, and do a storyboard on it or a vision board. It's just like, no, go out and talk to your neighbor and start a garden. Take your kid out of school, take their freaking smartphone away from them, get rid of your own. Take action. And the more we take action, the more empowered we become. We know what right action is.
Yeah,
we don't need to be taught it. Do no harm. Do no unintentional harm. Support what's life-giving. Support what's nurturing. Support what creates community and upliftment. And support inspiration. Creativity. We know this stuff.
Yeah. Can I ask, what are your thoughts on white hats and black hats? Or do you not have any thoughts on it?
Again, I think it's a continuation of the game.
Yeah,
the minute I'm not going to deny that we live in a physical world built on protons and electrons, on positive and negative electromagnetic forces. Sure, that doesn't mean we're not unified beings. But to play the white hat, black hat game, it's all about creating conflict. And you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Get it? No. That's the game that keeps us locked in prison. So to not blame, to not shame, to not attack any of that, but to focus on creating from the heart, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah. And energetically creating a new reality, because of course we all live in a different reality anyway, because we're all different frequency.
Right.
So energetically creating the reality that we want to live in, which in a lovely, sort of positive way, actually allows us to live in that reality now, rather than wishing and wanting a better world.
And meditating on it, as I say, all of those mental creations. No, we can be love in action. We need to bring together the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, and the physical. We are one. What are we talking about? We're talking about oneness. Yeah. We've talked about it and aspired to it, thinking it was something out there. No, it's right here, right now. walking,
So
talking, chewing gum.
we are it. And of
We
course,
are.
that leads us back to the beginning when we were talking about the plans for Maui now.
Yeah.
You now have a blank canvas and you can create whatever reality you want on that blank canvas. And it's really doing that together, you know, as a community, as you talked about, and not letting the other people come in and take that and do something with it for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my next step is I'm actually going to go do a podcast this afternoon about all Native peoples coming together on Maui. And then on Thursday, I'm joining a group of people, a small group of people, just to meet to talk about creating an hours bank on Maui. And I'm just allowing my love to expand, my field to expand, and magnetize into me the next step. I don't know what the next step is, but oh, this showed up. Yes, that feels, my heart's going, yes, I can get behind, my heart can get behind that. Yes, I will do that.
Yeah,
And
so
that's the pathway for me at the moment.
and that's the intuitive pathway, which is the pathway that we are probably supposed to be living and is what we actually came here to do. Taking each day, present moment as it comes, and working with what we have at that present moment. And as you say, you know, the breadcrumb trail, it presents itself, and we always find what we need at that point, but understanding that the present moment is actually the only reality, that is the only thing that's real, is this current present moment. So we can only create from the present moment. We can't create from tomorrow or yesterday. We can only create from now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really lovely.
It's lovely, and I have to laugh because what I'm experiencing and living, embodying now is what I've spent 40 years aspiring to. But I thought in that 40 years of meditating and that spiritual bubble I was in, of the picture of how it was going to be, is not anything like I thought this was going to be. But I realize I am embodying exactly what I always dreamed.
Yes.
Wholeness, love, peace, joy, the ability to deal with conflict, the ability to deal with alternating realities and input, and be able to walk steady in love. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is all we have to do, isn't it? It's so simple.
It's so simple. Yeah. I write about that in a different book. How about, it's like, it's so easy, but oh my God, simple is so hard.
Yeah, because there's so much distraction around us as we
so much distraction and so much messaging that it has to be hard and that you haven't got it. One of the things that really shocked me, Elisabeth, was when I was writing this book, and I realized that society's message, religion's message, and the spiritual new age message was all the same thing. You're not enough. You need to be better. You need to be somebody else. You need to be richer, thinner, more powerful, more loving, more enlightened.
Totally.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's the same message. Oh dear.
Yeah, you need to be something that you're not. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So being something that we are, what an adventure.
Yeah, being ourselves.
That is, and living it.
Oh, that's a great place to end. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. And please tell people how they can connect with you, how they can contact you, how they can be part of what you're creating maybe, and of course, how they can buy your book.
They can reach me at catemontana.com, and that's Kate with a C. And I'm also on Substack, which is a really, really great burgeoning web platform for intelligent, heart-based people coming together and with really deep and intelligent conversations. Substack, it's cmontana.substack.com. Yeah, and my book's on Amazon, Cracking the Matrix, 14 Keys to Individual and Global Freedom, and that's on Amazon. And yes, I totally welcome engagement. Write me. It's about coming together time.
Yeah, well, I love what you were saying about what you were planning and the community in Maui. I mean, that just sounds so incredible, and who's to say that we can't create that as a prototype for a new type of community and world that we want to create. And of course, we are 7.5 billion people. We can create anything we want to. We really, really can.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I will put all the links that you said in the notes so
Okay.
people don't have to go looking for them.
Okay.
And that's great. Thank you.